now. There we go. And then I am going to take us live on Facebook. Oh, I'm always signed in on this Facebook. Change the page, Scrubbox Jr. Okay, and I'm going to go live now. We'll give it just one more second. We'll get to cut all this fun part out. Okay, great. We are live. Got it. Hello, everybody. I'm going to give everybody just a second to get everything going and make sure everybody's good, but welcome. I'm so happy that everybody who's joining us today could join us, and everybody who sees us in the future. I hope you enjoy it. Today, I am joined by Miss Robin Preiss Glasser. I bet a lot of you are familiar with her books and maybe even her, but real quick, I will let you know that Robin Preiss Glasser is the New York Times best-selling illustrator of many books for children, including the Fancy Nancy series written by Jane O'Connor, You Can't Take a Balloon into the Metropolitan Museum, written by Jacqueline Price Weitzman, You Made Me a Mother, written by Lauren Salah, and A Scapegoat and Landslide, written by Ann Patchett. She lives in California with her husband, Bob. And today she is joining us here, and she is going to talk about her new book, Jeté and Me, which will be reversed on your feed so you can read it. There you go. And she is going to read this book, and she's going to go over a presentation about making this book and her life as an illustrator. And I'll quit talking now and let her take over since you're here to see her. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Without any further ado, here is Miss Robin Preiss Glasser.
Thank you so much, Paul. And hi, everybody. I wish I was with you in Oxford. I have been to the Square Books a few times. About 5 years ago, we were there with the big Fancy Nancy RV that was decked out and beautiful. And that was so much fun. And I remember it so well. And I wish I was with you all instead of here in my house in California. But it's so easy to travel around the country from my own house these days. Much easier. I'm going to quickly share the screen so that I'm not just staring at my big face. I much rather look at beautiful children. This is from about 3 years ago when I was on a big Fancy Nancy tour. And I am accustomed to wearing a tiara. And even though my books these days are not Fancy Nancy, you know, it makes me feel good. It's a couple hours earlier here in California, and so I woke up and put on my tiara and I was ready to go. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do, what an illustrator does, what I do specifically, and then I'm going to read my new book, Jeté and Me. But most of you probably know Fancy Nancy. That's a big series that Jane O'Connor, the author, and I did for about 15 years. We started the series in 2005, probably before all of you were born. But Jane wrote 80 Fancy Nancy books. And maybe you've seen some of these over the years. Some of them might be in your school libraries. And this is the chapter book series. But I'm an illustrator, and I just draw the pictures, and Jane was the author of this series. What happened is a few years ago, Disney came to us and said they wanted to do an animated TV series of Fancy Nancy. And I wonder if any of you have seen the series. It's still on Disney Junior, and you can see it on the Disney Plus. But they didn't want us to make any more books because they wanted to do books based on the series, but that's okay because then I decided to do other books, gave me a chance to do other books. And so I worked with a wonderful novelist named Ann Patchett, and we did this fun book about lambs called Lamb Slide, and we did a scapegoat. And that was so completely different from Fancy Nancy. And now my new book is Grand Jeté and Me, and this was a little bit of a circle back to something that was very close to me in my life, and I'm going to tell you about that now. Just a second, I just messed up my sheets. So the way it works is that an author writes a story, and then it's sold to a publisher, and the publisher then looks around for an illustrator, just the right illustrator for this story, because it takes about 6 months to a year for an illustrator to draw all the pictures for a book. I loved this story immediately, and I knew it was just the right story for me to spend a year working on, and I loved it because it's about a little girl going to the ballet. She's going to see the Nutcracker ballet. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I make the books. So the writer writes the words, but I get to do so many other things. I get to figure out who are the characters. I read the names of the characters on the page and get an idea of who they are. I get to decide what do they look like? Who are these people? And I get to decide what are they wearing? And that's my favorite part. I love to make up and design all the outfits for them. I think of them as costumes, but you know, I very often design the clothes for my characters. I also get to figure out how do they feel in each picture. Are they angry? Are they happy? Are they quiet and thinking? So there's always a lot of feeling, and I kind of feel it in my body as I'm trying to draw it on the page. I also get to figure out, where do they live? What is their whole world? What is the background? What is the house that they live in? In this book, a scapegoat, what little house did the goat live in? So I designed that little house too. And then I get to figure out how to turn a manuscript, which is just the words on a page that the author writes, into a 32-page book. And it's all of these pages. This is what's called a dummy. This is the dummy for it. And these are the many, many, many different stages of the book. And as I redo each picture, I tape it down on top of the old picture and fix it. And so that the ideas become, there's so many ideas as time goes by. But for Grand Jeté and Me, the book I'm going to read you today, I didn't have to make up the whole background because the book takes place in New York City, and I come from New York. And so I went home to visit my parents and went all over New York City and took pictures to draw into this book, Grand Jeté and Me. And you can see on the cover, there's that theater. It's called Lincoln Center in New York City, and it's a very big theater complex. And they do the Nutcracker there every single year. I needed for the little girl to go visit her grandmother in her New York City apartment. So I ran around and took photographs of the buildings, because the buildings are so stately in New York City. And I wanted to find just the right building that her grandmother would live in. And what I love in New York are the corner groceries, because they don't have big shopping centers in New York City. And all the little corner groceries, or many of them, have flowers or fruit out front, and it's very pretty. And this book takes place at Christmas time, at the holiday period. And in New York City, they don't have big places where you can buy trees. So they're right on the corners of right on the sidewalks that you can buy the Christmas trees for your apartment. And so I took photographs of those. This book was written by an actual ballerina, and it's an autobiography, which is a story that's written that you write about yourself. And this is Allegra Ken, and she wrote Grand Jeté and Me. And she wrote it about something about herself. When she had children, she brought them to the Nutcracker, and then she brought her grandchildren to the Nutcracker. And she was a very famous ballerina from when I was a little girl, and she danced every part in the New York City ballets, the Nutcracker. I wonder if you all can do that pose. I'm sure you can all do that. Right on your toes, like Allegra Kent. This story, Grand Jeté and Me, is about a former ballerina who brings her granddaughter to see the Nutcracker, a ballet that Allegra danced when she was younger, and is the first time her granddaughter sees what her grandma had done before she was just her beloved grandma. And for me, this book, which at first looks like a love story between a little girl and her grandmother, became the story of a little girl being introduced to the fact that her grandmother was not only hers, but had been a great influence on others and was beloved in her field. And instead of grandma, the little girl calls her Grand Jeté. Grand Jeté is a French word for big leap, a huge leap. I'm sure you can all do this step. These are ballet dancers doing a Grand Jeté, and it's a very exuberant, happy step. And so it's a lovely thing for the little girl to call her grandma Grand Jeté. I think that's just so perfect. Anyway, Allegra Kent, who wrote this book, is now an 84-year-old grandmother. And when I went to visit her in her New York apartment, she lifted her leg up like that, right up over her head. I wonder if you can all do that in your chairs and hold it up there. Let's see if you can do that. And she's 84. Isn't that amazing? I love drawing this story because actually, before I became an illustrator, I was also a professional ballet dancer, but I wasn't a ballerina like Allegra, even though I had a very happy career dancing in ballet companies until I was 30 years old. But the word ballerina is actually a title given to the top female dancers in a ballet company. Those are the real stars. I was never a big star in ballet. I was just a dancer in the company, and I loved my dance career. When it was over, I went back to school to become an illustrator, but I found that my 20 years in ballet have really, I've used a lot of that in my illustration. It helps me to bring energy and movement and emotion to my characters. So I'm just going to show you, for instance, how in this scene, the words in a Fancy Nancy book were, sandwiches definitely taste better if you stick in frilly toothpicks. And I could have just drawn a picture of Nancy holding a platter of sandwiches with toothpicks in it to give to her dad, who's kind of a slob, isn't he? That dad right there is based on my very own husband, Bob, who's a little bit of a slob, slobby Bob. And Nancy is just so fancy and excited about what it's a parade of sandwiches, and she's just giving them to her dad and so happy about it. And I felt that she needed a really happy step. So I used this step. And I bet you all could do that step too. You just lift your leg up to the back and then just stand on your toe, of course. Anyway, it's a very happy pose. You can all try that at home or in your classrooms. For instance, in this page, Nancy was carrying all her accessories into to dress up her parents. And she went into her room and she's so excited to dress them up to go out to a fancy dinner. And all you can see are her legs. So I needed to show how happy she was and excited, and all you could see were her legs. So I decided that she should grand jeté into the room. And there she is doing the same pose that I'm doing in this picture. I wonder if any of you have seen the Nutcracker. This is this is the snow scene, my favorite part from the Nutcracker ballet. And inside of this book, Grand Jeté and Me, is that's a whole nother story. It's the story of the Nutcracker. And every ballet school and company does the Nutcracker at Christmas time, and I danced it every year for 20 years. And I'm the girl on the left in the white tutu there. And that's my favorite scene, the snow scene, because it snows right on the stage. And I wonder if you all wonder how it snows, how they do that magic trick of the snowing on the stage. And I loved drawing dancers for the first time. And this was my first opportunity. And the way I do my drawings is I draw each person individually, and then I layer them down onto the page, and then I paint it up like that. So I'm going to show you, I'm doing another ballet book now. And you can see how each of the characters, I draw them completely, their whole body, and then I layer them into the scene like that. I don't know if any of you like to draw, but this is my way of drawing, because that way, sometimes if you draw the head of the person, but somebody's in front of that person, then you don't know what size they're going to be, where are their feet sticking out or their arms sticking out. So I like to have the whole person in there. In the Nutcracker story, inside the story, which I'm going to read in a second, I just love in the ballet. It's so magical. In the first act, the Christmas tree grows 40 feet in the air, and the mice become life size, and there's a battle, and then it snows on the stage, and then they go to the land of the sweets, and it's just such a glorious ballet. And to try to get it right, I went to the ballet with Allegra Kent. She's the woman in the corner talking to the ballerina in the Sugar Plum Fairy. And you can see her tutu. We went backstage and I took photographs of all the costumes so that I could draw those correctly. I'm going to quickly show you my studio, and then I'm going to read the story. So I live in California. I know you're in Mississippi. I wish I could see you all, come visit you all. And I work late into the night, probably around 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'm never alone because my dogs are always there hovering around with me. And these are my dogs. That's Pablo and Audrey. Pablo's on the left with the blue hair. Audrey's with the pink hair. They're brother and sister. But the thing about my dogs is they're very naughty. So they love to, I'm not sure if they are just needy and want my attention, so that they go up to my desk whenever I'm not looking and they grab my art that I've worked all day on and eat it. Or maybe they're just critics. Maybe they're saying, no, we don't really think that's a very good picture. Or maybe they're saying, oh, it's excellent. It's delicious. That's what I always try to figure out. They do this all the time. It's just terrible. But of course, they're so cute, so I love them to pieces. Yesterday was the book birthday of Grand Jeté and Me, which I'm going to read for you right now. And so my dogs were saying, happy birthday, happy. That's the best they could do. Grand Jeté and Me, I'm going to read it all to you now. Written by Allegra Kent, who was a ballerina, and me, Robin Preiss Classer. I'm going to visit my grandmother. She is not like other grandmothers. I don't call her grandma or nana or abuela. I call her Grand Jeté. My grandmother was once a prima ballerina. That's the fanciest kind of ballerina of all. She danced on stages all over the world. She never stopped dancing. I love to visit her apartment in New York, especially at Christmas time. Come in, says Grand Jeté as she opens the door wide. Make your entrance, my beautiful granddaughter. I chasse into her hallway. That's a step where you kind of skip with your legs. I chasse into her hallway and she applauds for me. I curtsy, which is a bow. I'm delighted to see you, my darling, says Grand Jeté. She doesn't talk like other grandmothers either. Shall we have a little lunch before we go? Yes, please, I say. I love lunch with Grand Jeté. She always makes it special. Follow me, she says. Straight spine, please, my sweetheart. I follow her back to the kitchen. I have been practicing my ballet steps all week to get ready. When we make lunch, we arabesque our plates. Wonder if you can do that step with your leg, lifting your leg to the back like that. And lunge for the milk. That's a deep, deep bend. You can do that also. We plie next to the stools before we sit down. A plie is the first step that a dancer does in ballet class every day. I wonder if any of you take ballet. We sit at the counter and unfold our napkins. Spine straight, says Grand Jeté. I sit up even straighter. Perfect, she says, and she gives me a big squeeze. After lunch comes my favorite part. Let's put on our faces, says Grand Jeté. My grandmother is the only person I know with a vanity in a dressing room. Ready? Asks Grand Jeté. Ready, I say, and I turn on the switch, and all the mirror lights up. There are 100 bulbs all around it. At least it looks like 100 bulbs. First our hair, says Grand Jeté, and she pulls her hair back from her face and sweeps it up into a bun. Then she does mine. Now our eyes, says Grand Jeté. She puts a great big swash of makeup on her eyes and they get huge. Then she puts a little swash of makeup on my eyes and they get bigger too. And now a little polish, says Grand Jeté. She makes her lips dark red. She gives my lips a little gloss. Finally, we put on the holiday outfits that Grand Jeté got for us today, our big day. And now I think we're ready, Grand Jeté says. We take the elevator down, down, down to the ground floor. Look, says Grand Jeté, a bar. Inside the elevator, there's a sort of a railing, and in dance class, you always hold on to a bar at the beginning. We nod to the doorman and then we hurry along the sidewalk. I know exactly where we're going and I can't wait. We bow to the woman selling hats and buy a bouquet of roses at the market. Grand Jeté does not play softball or volleyball. She doesn't even bowl. But she knows how to throw flowers. Toss them just like this, Grand Jeté says to me, underhand and softly. I've done this before and I do it just right. The people on the street give us funny looks. We just smile and bow. When we arrive at the theater, I'm so excited. I do a grand jeté, which is a big leap. Then we hurry through the backstage door to greet Grand Jeté's friends. That's because Grand Jeté used to dance in the theater. Everyone here knows Grand Jeté, but they call her Madame. She is famous. I'll be dancing the ballerina role, Sugar Plum Fairy, the one your grandmother used to dance, says one of the dancers. Can you see one of the dancers holding Granjeté's hand? She's going to be dancing the role of the Sugar Plum Fairy. We rush to our seats. Soon the Nutcracker will begin. Have you ever been to the theater and you know how the orchestra tunes up their instruments? Oh, I love that sound. Soon the Nutcracker will begin. And now it starts. Granjeté says, the ballet begins on Christmas Eve with a party at the home of a little girl, Marie, and her family. I hold Granjeté's hand when Marie's godfather, Drosselmeyer, gives her the Nutcracker doll. Do you see the man in the middle holding up the Nutcracker? But her naughty brother breaks it. When the party is over, Marie falls asleep with her broken doll. She is awakened by flashing lights. The Christmas tree grows and all the toys, including Marie's Nutcracker, become life-size. Giant mice attack her. The mice and a terrible 7-headed mouse king battle the Nutcracker and his soldiers. Marie throws her shoe at the mouse king and the Nutcracker kills him. The battle is won. Marie's Nutcracker turns into a prince who takes her on a magical journey. Marie and the prince walk through a forest and it snows right on the stage. Then they travel to the land of the sweets, where they are entertained by the whole kingdom. When the beautiful Sugar Plum Fairy dances, Granjeté whispers, that's the role I used to dance. I remember all the steps. At the end, everyone waves as Marie and the prince fly home in a sleigh. I wave too. Was it all a dream? The curtain closes and we jump to our feet and clap and clap. The prima ballerina takes a final bow and smiles right at Granjeté. I toss up the flowers just the way Granjeté showed me. She blows us a kiss. We blow a kiss back. She's a prima ballerina, Granjeté, I say. You were just like her. Granjeté smiles. She blows a final kiss to the stage, but the curtain has already come down. I was just like her, my darling, she says, and someday you might be too. She picks up our programs and heads to the aisle. Ready to rumble, she asks. Ready to rumble, I say, and together we waltz out of the theater. The end. Okay, escape, stop share, and I'm back, Paul. Hello.
Hello, that was incredible. It's such a really sweet book. I love their grandmother granddaughter relationship. It's really like, it's really nice to see that in the book.
For any of us who had a mother or a grandparent or just somebody we loved who took us to the theater as children, I think that it opens that child up to that passion that you can enjoy and escape for the rest of your life. And so I just hope that some of the children out there are brought to the theater to see ballet or art or dance.
I know we have a Nutcracker performance here soon in town. So
Ooh, I hope
by the Russian ballet, if I'm not mistaken. So
I hope you all can go.
Moscow Ballet.
The Moscow Ballet. And I wonder if the kids can find out how it snows on the stage.
I hope
How
so.
to do that magic trick. And how does the Christmas tree grow 40 feet into the air?
That sounds really cool. You make me want to go see the Nutcracker again. Well, thank you so much for being here. I just want to remind everybody, if they want to check out this book some more, if they want to have their own copy to read, maybe with their own grandmother or anything like that this holiday season, you can pick up a copy of this at Square Books Junior anytime, and it even comes with a signed book plate that is signed by Miss Robin Preiss Glasser.
Did I also send you a Jeté print just to raffle off?
Yes, yeah, we have a print to raffle off as well. I think we're going to be doing that for anybody who comes in to buy the book in the store in the next week. We're going to enter them into our raffle for that as well. So there we go.
If anybody wants to know about the raffle, just give Paul a call.
Yeah, the store's number is 662-236-2207. So definitely reach out to us. I know most of you we see pretty regularly anyway. So just stop in and check it out. We're happy to show it to you.
I wish I could stop in. I would like to
No.
myself and be there with you all.
I
and
wish
some
you could too.
children
We'll
again.
have you again someday. We'll have another dress up party sometime. I think that would be a lot of fun. I know a lot of these kids would probably really enjoy that.
I would love to do that, and they can all wear their tiaras. The boys.
Even the boys.
Thank you very
much. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Robin, so much. That was really fun. I really appreciate your dogs as well. It feels like I'm glad to know everyone else's animals are agents of chaos, not just my own.
My husband came up right in the middle of my talk, and he said, did you lock out the dogs for a reason? I'm like, I put up the gate because otherwise they would have just jumped and licked the screen and knocked everything over, and it would have been a disaster.
All right. Thank you again so much. Thank you everybody who was able to be here, and everybody who watches this in the future. We're happy to see you, and we hope to see you in the store soon. With that, we'll sign off. Bye everybody.
Bye.
Stop the live stream and stop the